to protest a local business owner.
Plus, a streak of violence over the weekend leaves the nation grieving and in shock.
And in sports, Ohio men's basketball headlined a jam-packed weekend for Ohio athletics. Newswatch starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Brenna Nye.
And I'm Madison Moore. Welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. Dozens of people gather in front of a local business to protest the owner of the store. The protest happened this past weekend in front of Artifacts Gallery on Court Street. This comes after the owner put out a sign protesters felt was anti-transgender. The sign says, quote, "Are women's sex-based rights hateful?" At the protest, people held signs and handed out pamphlets while urging others not to shop at the business. Artifacts Gallery owner says she supports women's rights and doesn't feel transgender women should get the same privileges biological women have. Amy Mangano specifically mentioned transgender women being allowed to participate in women's sports. Mangano says it's wrong for women who speak out about this topic to be treated like she is.
I've had my door vandalized. I've had my windows spit on just for saying that women's sex-based rights are more important than a man's feelings about who he is deep inside his heart.
Mangano says she has been a dip in business since the protest but plans to keep the store open.
The Marietta Post of the Ohio State Highway Patrol is investigating a dead body found on the side of State Route 7 in Washington County. A call reporting an unresponsive male came in Saturday around 11:45 a.m. Officers determined 30-year-old Chad Stock of Marietta was dead. An autopsy will be done to help determine the cause of death. The incident remains under investigation. Nearly 100 train cars were derailed last Thursday on the Ohio Central Railroad in Muskingum County. The 97 empty train cars stretched from near Adam Mills to Trinway, roughly 1.2 miles. One car was loaded, but no cargo was lost during the incident. There were also no injuries reported. Cleanup is expected to take a week with an investigation still underway.
Toll rates for the Memorial Bridge between Parkersburg and Belpre are released. The Parkersburg News and Sentinel reports the base rate is $1 for a single trip across for any vehicle equipped with a transponder. Vehicles without a transponder will be charged $4.50. And since those rates will be billed by mail, a $30 a month option for unlimited crossings with a transponder is also offered. The target date for reopening the bridge is set for August 31st. The 4th annual Chillicothe Chocolate Walk is scheduled for February 11th. The event will take place from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and will lead participants to 12 different locations where they will receive various chocolate treats with their event passports. Wendy Bennett, Chillicothe Ross Chamber of Commerce Small Business Resource Navigator, says that last year the passports completely sold out before the event. So they decided to add more this year to allow more people to participate. Passports are available for $15 online or in person at the Chillicothe Ross Chamber of Commerce office. All proceeds will support downtown Chillicothe beautification projects.
Good evening, I'm your weather forecast tonight, Marissa Zarati, and looking at today's temperatures, we definitely felt those January temperatures come in. Right now it's about 33 degrees outside, and because we had a little bit of gusts coming in as well, so it feels a bit colder than it actually is, feeling more about 28 degrees. It's been very cloudy outside today as well. We also saw some flakes of snow come in through today, so it's been a very dreary day all overall. Looking at temperatures around us, we can see how consistent it's been in the Ohio Valley, about 34 degrees all over, Lancaster, Athens, and Parkersburg all being about 34 degrees. Looking at the local radar, any snow that we saw earlier today has since gone up northeast, and so we are free of snow for the rest of the night going into tomorrow as well. So we are going to be free of any precipitation for the rest of the night. That is all I have for my first weather. Now back to you, Brenna, at the desk.
Thanks. Irene Farron steals nearly $5,000 from the Federal Veterans Affairs Department. This 76-year-old Cincinnati resident impersonated her dead mother for almost 50 years. Farron's mother received widow benefits since the death of her husband, who was an Army veteran. When her mother passed away in 1973, she did not notify VA officials and started to forge her mother's signatures on the monthly checks. Farron pleaded guilty last August for theft of public money. On Thursday, she was sentenced to 1 year of home detention and 5 years of probation, along with having to repay the money. Farron was spared a prison term. A Kentucky tax collector accidentally collected twice from almost 8,000 accounts on Wednesday. A spokesperson from the Kentucky Department of Revenue says the problem was a, quote, technical glitch. The company was able to void the majority of the duplicated payments before they were processed. Anyone who incurred overdraft fees will be compensated by the company. The nation is grieving after a weekend of violence. Plus, the steps the president is taking to protect access to abortion medication. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
How does chemistry become biology? I'm David Pogue. In this Nova miniseries, the blueprints of life. The molecules that make us. That's only half the amount of fats in my body.
Absolutely.
And the chemistry.
Cell division.
We live for.
It's a really cool enzyme because it makes life on Earth possible.
Beyond the elements, life on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
Get out! On Finding Your Roots, Cyndi Lauper discovers a rebel.
I know I'm always fighting the man. Now I know where it comes from.
Jamie Chung's ancestor is honored.
No way. That's my cousin.
Yeah. And Danny Trejo's relatives journey to America.
I've got history.
And Danny, they were on foot, man.
That's heavy.
Finding Your Roots. New episode January 24th on PBS and the PBS app.
Thanks to viewers like you, we've been able to tell America's stories on this PBS station. Help us continue to tell these stories now and for future generations by including this station in your charitable plans.
Supporting this PBS station through a gift of securities is easy. To find out more, call the number on your screen or visit this website. Thank you.
In these waters lies a complex world, a natural realm built on relationships. We are piecing together clues like a jigsaw puzzle, slowly revealing parts of the picture. Take a deep breath and discover the soul of the ocean.
Wednesday at 8 on WOUB.
Yet another violent weekend in the U.S. An 11th person has now died following a shooting in Monterey Park, California.
Isabel Rosales reports on the search for answers and the trauma these shootings leave behind.
The Monterey Park community grappling with shock and grief.
You have 10 unresponsive inside.
A 72-year-old suspected of carrying out a deadly mass shooting at a dance studio as the city's large Asian American community was celebrating the Lunar New Year weekend.
Year of the Rabbit, a year of hope and peace, and to have this peace shattered a few hours later was just very, very devastating.
Police say the gunman showed up at a second studio.
I turned around and saw that there was an Asian man holding a gun. My first thoughts was I was going to die here.
But this time, people confronted and disarmed him.
I was trying to use my elbows to separate the gun away from him, creating some distance. Finally, at one point, I was able to pull the gun away from him.
The alleged killer later found dead in his car with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Authorities are working to figure out his motive. In West Atlanta, more questions than answers. A 13-year-old boy found dead, shot multiple times, according to Atlanta police.
My message is simple to those who seek to continue this type of criminal behavior. We will find you and we will arrest you and you will be held accountable.
And in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, police are searching for at least one suspect involved in a nightclub shooting. Police are calling the attack that left a dozen people injured targeted.
There's someone who knows something. Do the right thing.
I'm Isabel Rosales reporting.
According to the Gun Violence Archive, there have been more than 30 mass shootings in the country this year, killing 50 people and injuring 125 others.
The jury in the second trial against alleged Oath Keepers will begin deliberations Thursday after a month-long trial. 3 alleged members of the far-right group and 1 associate are facing charges including seditious conspiracy. All 4 have pleaded not guilty. They are trying to avoid the fate of other members of the Oath Keepers who were convicted on multiple charges in November. Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes and another member were found guilty of seditious conspiracy. 3 other alleged members were found guilty on other felony charges. Abortion rallies on both sides of the issue took place around the country this weekend. Yesterday, the White House says it is taking action to make sure women have access to abortion. John Lorink reports.
President Joe Biden issues a presidential memorandum that allows access to medication abortion, saying in a statement, quote, "I'll continue to fight to protect a woman's right to choose." Vice President Kamala Harris made the announcement at an abortion rights rally in Florida on Sunday.
Members of our cabinet and our administration are now directed, as of the president's order, to identify barriers to access to prescription medication.
Harris also called on Congress to pass federal protections on the matter.
Let us not be tired or discouraged, because we're on the right side of history.
But not everyone agrees with that stance.
Every day in this country, innocent lives are at stake.
Former coach and NFL player Tony Dungy was among those who took part in the 50th annual March for Life rally in Washington, D.C. Friday.
Those lives are still important to God and in God's eyes.
Abortion is currently legal in about 24 states and banned or severely restricted in 13 others, according to the Guttmacher Institute of Reproductive Rights. The remaining states are either in limbo or legal with restrictions under 20 weeks of pregnancy.
Everyone recognizes abortion up until birth is not something that they want. At the same time, banning all abortions with 0 exceptions isn't something people support. And so where is the middle ground? How do we get there?
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Any potential pro-abortion rights legislation is not likely to pass through the GOP-led House of Representatives. Lawmakers passed a bill last week that requires healthcare providers to try to preserve the life of any infant if the baby is born alive during or after an attempted abortion. The FDA wants to simplify the process for the COVID vaccine. That story's still ahead.
We've seen some snowflakes head in for us today. How will the winter weather continue for this week? Stick around for my full weather forecast and find out. In the meantime, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
One of the darkest chapters in human history.
The Auschwitz killing complex can turn several thousands of human beings into ash in just 24 hours.
They went straight from the trains to the gas chambers.
Could the Allies have done anything to destroy the extermination camp?
The only way to take out the instrument of killing was to bomb the camp.
On the 75th anniversary of the camp's liberation, Secrets of the Dead explores bombing Auschwitz. Tune in or stream Tuesday, January 21st at 9, 8 Central, only on PBS.
American Masters Profiles celebrated Solstice Roberta Flack.
Yeah.
She rose from classically trained.
I always dreamed of stardom.
To social justice storyteller with songs that were ahead of their time.
She was literally everywhere because her music went everywhere.
Check out Roberta.
The story just goes on and on and on.
On American Masters.
Tuesday at 9 on WOUB.
On American Experience. In the shadow of a world war, they were reluctant symbols of their people.
We invested so much in Joe Louis.
But when they stepped into the ring, the world stopped and watched 2 men, Joe Louis and Max Schmeling, fight for the title of Champion. The Fight on American Experience.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
How does chemistry become biology? I'm David Pogue. In this Nova miniseries, The Blueprints of Life, The molecules that make us. That's only half the amount of fats in my body.
Absolutely.
And the chemistry
Cell division.
we live for.
It's a really cool enzyme because it makes life on Earth possible.
Beyond the elements, life on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
Welcome back to Newswatch. We had those January temperatures come in today, reaching about a high about 36 degrees, and it did end up feeling a bit colder than that with the wind chill. But also with the clouds coming in, it was a very dreary day, that is for sure, as we saw the snow come in, and it was definitely wet for most of the day today. Luckily, looking at the local radar right now, we can see it is completely clear. So any snow that we saw earlier has since moved on northeast, and we shall be clear from any precipitation for the rest of the night. Into tonight, it is going to be below freezing temperatures of about 25 degrees, which means that that wet weather that we had earlier today will have a high chance of turning into more slicker conditions outside. So if you are going out tonight, just make sure that you are being careful. Now, what has been happening has that we've had this low kind of pressure system kind of coming in through, and it's bringing a bunch of snow from the Ohio Valley up northeast, and behind that right now there is a high pressure system that's kind of going to bring us some higher pressures, which means that we are not expecting any more precipitation for the rest of the night, and it'll just end up being a bit more cloudy instead. Going into tomorrow, because of the high pressure, it is still going to be cloudy, but we do have the chance of some sun peeking through tomorrow. It just means that we're not going to have any snow. It is going to warm up a bit tomorrow as well, with a high about 43 degrees, but then we will feel, again, those freezing temperatures for tomorrow night, about 28 degrees. Now, all the precipitation is still up northeast, and we will not be seeing any precipitation tomorrow. However, towards the west in the Dayton area, they are currently under a winter storm watch, and we will be feeling the effects of that later on in the week as we continue for the next 3 days. Tuesday, again, tomorrow it'll be pretty clear, and then Wednesday, as that kind of system comes through again, it is a 100% chance that there is going to be some rain. And then as those temperatures kind of turn into freezing overnight, it will continue to like a wintry weather mix. Looking into the week, it is unfortunately going to be quite a dreary week, very cloudy, and lots of precipitation as well. Those chances of rain and snow happening Wednesday, where it clears up a little bit on Friday and Saturday with no precipitation. It is still going to be kind of chilly though, as Friday the highs only be about 35, and it'll go into below freezing temperatures, about 28, and then Saturday is the same thing, about 43 degrees as the high and 27 degrees as the low. That precipitation comes back at the start of next week, where Sunday there is a 60% chance of snow, and then Monday, or showers, and then Monday is going to be 40% chance of showers. That is all I have for my full weather forecast. Now back to you, Brenda, at the desk.
Thank you. The FDA is weighing a major shift in its strategy to administer COVID-19 vaccines. Ivan Rodriguez has the latest.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration wants to simplify the COVID-19 vaccine process to mirror that of the flu vaccine.
I certainly can't say that patients are very confused and have been, I think, even from the start. What does full vaccination mean? What's part of your regular cycle? What's a booster?
The FDA says it expects to assess circulating strains of the virus that causes COVID-19 at least annually and decide in June which strains to select for the fall season, much like the process to update flu vaccines.
Messaging that is more simple of when you should get your next shot, essentially, I think will be helpful for those people who do have the intention to stay immunized and on top of their vaccines.
Moving forward, most people may need only one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine to restore protection, regardless of how many shots they've already received. 2 doses may be needed for people who are very young and haven't been exposed, or for elderly or immune compromised. The FDA saying this simplification of vaccine composition should reduce complexity, decrease vaccine administration errors due to the complexity of a number of different vial presentations, and potentially increase vaccine compliance by allowing clear communication.
The more immunity you have to something before you face that something, the better you're going to do when you come across it.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
The FDA's independent vaccine advisors, the Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee, are scheduled to meet on Thursday to discuss the future of COVID-19 vaccine regimens and will be asked to vote on whether they recommend parts of FDA's plan.
Since the summer launch of the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, according to the latest data, the new 3-digit number has seen a significant rise in call volume. Mandy Gaither has a look at the numbers in today's Health Minute.
In 6 months, 3 numbers have connected millions of people to more than 200 call centers, the majority being answered in under a minute.
The average speed to answer year over year was about 3 minutes in 2021. It's now 44 seconds in December of 2022.
Since the transition to the easier to remember 988, more than 300,000 calls, texts, and chats have come in each month. The latest data shows calls answered increased by 48%, comparing December 2022 to the same month in 2021. Chats answered also increased by 263%, and texts answered increased by more than 1,400%.
There's been tremendous national dialogue, conversation, discussion about 988, about suicidal crises, mental health crises.
Health experts believe that's helped to reduce stigma and encouraged people to seek help. The Lifeline has also seen a lot of demand for a pilot program being tested that's aimed at the LGBTQ+ community, where youth have the option of being connected with counselors specially trained in inclusive crisis care.
Good morning, 988. How can I help you? There has been a lot of demand and a lot of utilization of that service, which really speaks to what we've known all along, that there is a huge need in that population for access to care.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The 9888 Lifeline has a Spanish-speaking sub-network for people who call in, but this year there are plans to add Spanish access to care through chats and texts as well.
Coming up in sports, winter sports season was in full effect in a busy weekend for 4 Ohio teams. Find out how each did when Newswatch returns.
On American Experience, in the shadow of a world war, they were reluctant symbols of their people.
We invested so much in Joe Louis.
But when they stepped into the ring, the world stopped and watched 2 men, Joe Louis and Max Schmeling, fight for the title of champion. The Fight on American Experience.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
American Masters Profiles celebrated Solstice Roberta Flack.
Yeah.
She rose from classically trained
I always dreamed of stardom.
to social justice storyteller with songs that were ahead of their time.
She was literally everywhere because her music went everywhere.
Check out Roberta
The story just goes on and on and on.
on American Masters.
Tuesday at 9 on WOUB.
Here's what's new this month with Passport.
You make a good team.
As long as we're together, it's perfect.
Dreams do come true. Hey, lad? Seems they do.
Something deeply dangerous is happening here. This is just beginning.
These and all your favorite shows are available with Passport. Support your PBS station and stream more with Passport on the PBS app.
One of the darkest chapters in human history.
The Auschwitz killing complex can turn several thousands of human beings into ash in just 24 hours.
They went straight from the trains to the gas chambers.
Could the Allies have done anything to destroy the extermination camp?
The only way to take out the instrument of killing was to bomb the camp.
On the 75th anniversary of the camp's liberation, Secrets of the Dead explores bombing Auschwitz. Tune in or stream Tuesday, January 21st at 9, 8 Central, only on PBS.
Welcome back. I'm Joe Collins. MAC play is in full swing for the Ohio men's basketball team, and after a 1-4 start to conference play, the Bobcats desperately needed a win versus the Central Michigan Chippewas over the weekend. Ohio got its wish and did it in convincing fashion as it led every step of the way in a 96-68 dismantling of the Chippewas. The Bobcats executed their game plan of being effective from range as they shot a season-high 15 of 32 from three-point land. Leading the charge with 6 threes was senior guard downtown Miles Brown. He scored a career-high 27 points. Key story in the game was Ohio utilizing its entire bench as every player on the roster got in the game, with all but one scoring. Head coach Jeff Pohl says their depth is one of this group's biggest strengths.
I think we got multiple guys who can play. We kind of went away from that, tried to, that kind of 8-9 man rotation, and as long as those guys come in and bring energy and effort, I think they can really help us. So there's multiple guys who can play, and we're going to need them.
For the Ohio women's team, it's been a season of a lot of lows, but they finally had a high as they snapped their 10-game losing streak on Saturday with a victory over the Miami Redhawks. The Bobcats lost a 10-point lead with under a minute to go in regulation, but held on in overtime to come away with an 84-73 victory in the Battle of the Bricks. Leading scorer Yaya Felder once again led with 28 points, the 11th time this season she scored at least 20 points in a game. The Bobcats look to make it 2 in a row on Wednesday when they travel to take on Central Michigan. From the hardwood to the ice is the Ohio Bobcats hockey team. Well, they may as well be skating on water itself because they're on fire right now, once again displaying that over this weekend. Now ranked 3rd in the nation for ACHA club hockey, the Bobcats made quick work of the Drexel Dragons with a 2-game sweep at home. On Friday, the Bobcats used 6 unanswered goals in the presence of sophomore forward Phil Angerville to quickly snuff out the Dragons 8-4. Much was the same on night 2 as they skated away with back-to-back wins of 4+ goals, this time 6-2. The Bobcats are now 21-4-1 in the season and have won 10 of their last 11. Head coach Lionel Marone says the key now is to keep focus on the little things to continue this impressive streak.
I think we need to pay more attention to little details to keep the guys engaged and interested. And then obviously we want to use that positive energy to make them work harder. And I think they're responding well, and obviously we feel very confident about ourselves.
Ohio Wrestling welcomed the Cleveland State Vikings to the mats of the Convocation Center Sunday, and after a much-needed victory, that makes this weekend a clean sweep for Ohio athletics. Experience showed for the green and white as the performance of three of their upperclassmen paved the way to victory. Graduate student Alec Hagan quickly got a pin in his matchup at 149 pounds, while his brother Kyron won by medical forfeit at 141. Redshirt junior Jordan Slivka continued Ohio's domination of the 165-pound group as he picked up his 7th win of the year. With the win, the Bobcats ended a 6-meet losing streak as it halted the Vikings 27-18. And you think about winter sports, there's so much going on right now. Hockey, basketball, wrestling, swimming, and diving. My favorite part about winter sports is that it's an excuse to get inside and beat the cold.
Absolutely, especially with this more cold weather coming, that's all I would want to do.
I think too, like, it was 65 degrees the other day, which you'd want to be outside, but I guess now that's a chance to get inside because it's going to get much, much colder now.
Absolutely. Now we're going to toss it over to Marissa.
Temperatures tonight are going to be below freezing. 25 degrees will be the overnight low, and because of how wet it's been today, expect some slick conditions out later tonight. Tomorrow it will warm up to be about 43 degrees, and then still cloudy for most of the day, and then the temperatures will drop down to 28 degrees tomorrow night. It is going to be a dreary week ahead, as Wednesday and Thursday there's that rain that kind of turns into snow, and then it kind of clears up a little bit, and then Sunday into Monday that precipitation comes back.
I mean, as we talked about, like, it was pretty warm, and now it's just going right back down.
I know.
Absolutely. I feel like Ohio may just be the only place on the planet where it could be 65 one day and 25 in 3 days.
So bipolar.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yes.
But you know what they say, only in Ohio.
Only in Ohio.
Nobody else gets it except for us. We're the only people that understand, the only ones that totally get what they mean.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There is not a chance for snow days, but the slick conditions are definitely going to be a little bit concerning for tomorrow morning for your commute to work and stuff like that. So.
Perfect.
And
we'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, especially with the bricks of Athens, you know, those can get slick too.
Yep.
So
Yes.
you just want to make sure.
Absolutely. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Madison Moore.
And I'm Brenna Nye. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next.
Support comes from Goldsberry Wealth Strategies in Athens and Parkersburg, focusing on helping people achieve a life well lived with a custom strategy. Information at goldsberrywealth.com. Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA, SIPC.